he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What?
That's one thing I want to point out. I know a lot of people have been saying it, but it is 100% true. So Putin is the way Putin's kind of military strategy works is he starts these conflicts, and then once they run out of resources, run out of money, run out of interest, he backs off. So he started by, invading Crimea in 2014, right? Or in the Donbass in 2014, basically until they have more resources, time, manpower, and then he starts the assault again. So what Zelensky is worried about, for obvious reasons, is that Putin is going to capitulate now. He's going to end the war now, build up his strength again, build up his the public support for it, and then reinvade.
Yeah, get more North Koreans who are now addicted to pornography because they found the internet for the first time.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
No.
He brought North Koreans,
I know
claimed
about the North Koreans.
yeah, claimed that they were Russian citizens because that part of Russia touches Korea, North Korea,
Yeah?
and, they I guess were given access to the internet for the first time, and now they're all addicted to pornography.
I did not hear this.
Oh my we'll have to find the clip.
That's fascinating. I mean, you know what? Good for them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's better.
I hope a lot of them make it out and don't have to go back to North Korea.
I would agree.
I think they're all just gonna defect.
That's wild. But anyway, this is going to devolve. So JD Vance starts getting involved now, and every time JD Vance gets involved, it's going to be fucked up.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
Okay, so first of all, the administration that's trying to prevent the destruction of your country is literally the opposite of what's going on. But I just love the notion of he's not being respectful. Did you hear that one of the biggest problems people have with this is he's not wearing a suit?
What?
They expected Zelensky to come in wearing a suit, but they're like, he's a wartime president. He's not going to wear a fucking suit. He dresses like this all the time.
Yeah, like, honestly, I'm surprised that he even made the trip here to be in the American media when he's a little bit busy.
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of? Okay, so when you have like a friend or a partner or whatever that you are already wanting to break up with
Yes.
or stop being friends with, and they do the tiniest little thing, and you're like, "Well, that's it. It's over now. You screwed everything up." And the whole point is, it's like that weak shit where like you don't want to actually take the initiative and end something that you want to end. So you wait for them to have the smallest little minor inconvenience to you, and then you act like they're being the disrespectful one.
Oh, there's a few people in my life that are
Yeah.
currently doing that.
But don't you think that's what's going on here?
100%.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest pet peeves with this sort of staging of these interviews is when somebody asks somebody multiple questions in a row and then doesn't let them answer any of them.
Yeah.
Because Zelensky's trying to say, like, no, I'll answer your question about my manpower issues. And he's like, and don't you think it's disrespectful for how you're here in the Oval Office? Like, dude, one question at a time, let the man talk. But I mean, that's always my biggest issue with politics to begin with. That happens in every single debate. They just drone on and throw all of these questions that they don't actually want the answers to.
Also, it is actually a rhetorical technique and a debating technique. It's called a Gish Gallop. And the whole point of it is that you throw out so much at once that no one can keep up with how much you threw out to give proper answers. So basically, you do it when you don't want a real answer.
And then you can say, well, they never even answered this question.
Or if they do answer one of them, you can say, yeah, but he didn't answer this, this, and this. It's
Yeah.
nitpicking. It's a gish gallop. The whole point of it is when you're a dishonest actor in a debate. And that's literally what they're doing. Because what happened, in my opinion, is they came in here with this ending in mind, that they wanted to make this big show of how rude Zelensky is being because they want an out. Because they don't want to fund Ukraine anymore. That's why I say that Trump is such a soft boy. Like, I got a lot of crap from a lot of MAGA people in the last TikTok I did because he's soft. This is the definition of being a soft, soft little boy. Like, this is the biggest problem I have with him is he gets this reputation of being this, he tells it like it is. Trump literally never tells it like it is. You never know what he wants, and even when you do know what he wants, he tells you something different because what he really wants, he knows is unpopular, and he has to cage it in this, in this other rhetoric to be like, "Well, I was forced to do it."
Yeah, I will say the only thing that I like about Trump so far in this video is his lack of speaking. I mean, he's been on camera for over a minute and hasn't said a word.
Because this is over his head.
Yeah, he can't actually have a conversation and be a part of it because he doesn't know what's going on. He looks like he's falling asleep in that chair. He always talks about Sleepy Joe, Sleepy Joe. This guy looks like he took a Z-Quil before this interview started.
I do really think his expertise on all this is so minimal that he doesn't know where to interject because he doesn't even know what they're talking about. I really truly do think
Yeah.
that.
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't know
God
that.
bless. You
Don't-
will not have
gotta-
a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're
doing. I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
So I understand what Zelensky's trying to do there. He's basically saying, right now, you guys are safe over here across the ocean. But if Russia gets their way, it's not going to matter anymore. The country boundaries don't matter. We're talking all out war across Europe eventually. We will feel it eventually. Zelensky's point is the same point. This is what drives me nuts. This is the same point that Marco Rubio, the current Secretary of State, who is now backing Trump on this, and Lindsey Graham both said that Lindsey Graham called Zelensky and Ukraine the greatest ally we could ever ask for because they are defeating an enemy across the ocean before it ever becomes a problem for us. That's the biggest thing with this. They are fighting a war. But it's a proxy war at this point. It's like Vietnam during the Cold War. We can't fight Russia directly. We'll fight, their sphere of influence, in another country. That's basically what's going on right now. Zelensky is defeating, for the most part, or at least putting up a really good fight against Russia, so we don't have to worry about him later. This is such a win-win for the U.S. I don't understand why anyone has a problem with it.
I fully agree with that. And I did recently see a political cartoon, and it was Russia is the body of water, Ukraine is the dam, and below the dam there's like a city, and it just says Europe.
It's true, yeah. It's exactly what it is. But, you know, I think the Russia, all that stuff that Trump's always talk about with the Russia collusion in the last election or in 2016, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I was at the time, I was like, Trump's not a Russian agent. It is becoming harder and harder to think that now. He is literally serving one of the ministers of, propaganda or whatever for Russia actually said on one of their talk shows that that the United States is now aligned with Russian interests. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, the head of of our national intelligence, has on those shows also been called basically a Russian asset. Russia loves Tulsi Gabbard, and Trump made her the head of all of our intelligence. Like, we are doing everything we can possibly to appease Russia. It's ridiculous.
You're not in a good position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards. But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what you
You're
think
gambling
about?
with
What you
World
think
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's
with
back
all
to you,
respect to your
far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that part annoys me
Um,
just about more than any of it.
He's like, "No, have you thanked us in this meeting?" No, why would he thank you in that meeting? You're trying to actively tear apart his country. You're just trying to give Russia the green light to trample Ukraine on their way through the rest of Europe. Why would he say thank you to the political candidate that was the worst case scenario for Ukraine?
That if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I
You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
Yes. What about
if
West?
you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
I do love that part. I heard it from Putin.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the big talking point. I mean, Putin thought he was gonna roll in, and in a month or 2, he would have all of Ukraine. And now Ukraine, I mean, they've lost hundreds of thousands of people in total on both sides. But, I mean, I think anybody would agree that Ukraine is doing a much better job than anyone expected. And one more thing, I one of my biggest pet peeves in this whole situation is people acting like we're just giving blank checks to Ukraine. We are giving Ukraine old equipment.
Yes.
Ukraine is not getting money from us. They're getting old equipment that we send over. So, I mean, it's great for their, military industrial complex, Raytheon and Boeing and all. They get to make all this new stuff and, all types of terrible things for the military industrial complex. But at the end of the day, this is stuff that we would have had to dispose of for the most part anyway. So what's a more noble cause than sending it over here to fight this war? I don't understand. The only way you could explain this is if Trump is literally not on our side. And he doesn't seem to be.
Yes.
In 2 weeks, of course he has.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
accept
times
that there,
thank you
accept
to
that,
American people.
accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on
I
over
understand,
there.
sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You
I'm
don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low on
know.
soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask how-
His whole thing with this is, I would love peace, but I'm not having peace without stipulations. Why would he? He needs certain guarantees that Russia will not attack again, or if they do, that there'll be bigger consequences. Because as of right now, there's no consequences if Russia does it again.
I think NATO needs to add Ukraine to
Yeah.
the mix so that everyone else can actually step in and help and do something formally.
Yeah.
Like, I think part of the ceasefire that Zelenskyy should ask for is Ukraine is added to NATO because then that would be the consequences if Russia tries this shit again.
Which he has done. He's asked to join NATO, and NATO has said no, only because there was an agreement made where Ukraine and other Soviet bloc nations would not join NATO because Russia would see that as encroaching on them. Basically, their neighbor would become an enemy. And that was an agreement that was made, but Russia's also violated the post-Cold War agreements numerous times. It does seem like at the end of the day, that's probably the best case scenario is that if you attack Ukraine, then all of NATO shows up. I get that, but that's the main reason so far is that Russia would see it as a provocation, which I do get to an extent, basically by saying, we're going to butt our military alliance right up next door to you.
I don't see how that's a problem.
I don't see how it's a problem anymore, especially if we were all living in peace, I'd be like, I get it.
Yeah.
We don't need NATO to be in Ukraine because we have this middle ground in the former Soviet Union, which is like a no man's land. Russia's not going to attack, so they don't have to worry about it. But they are attacking, so that kind of goes out the window. But Russia provocated. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing with this. Regardless of what international agreements exist, we have not had. It's actually shocking to me. We have not had a clear cut good guy bad guy war in since World War II. And this is
Yeah.
about as clear cut as it gets. And we somehow found ourselves on the wrong side. There are two options. You have the good guys, you have the bad guys, and our president somehow chose the bad guys. I don't think that's a mistake either. I think that's because ideologically he has a lot more in common with the bad guys than he does the good guys in this case.
Yes.
People about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with you.
a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
But this
That
is
was
your-
with
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry, here.
It'll be a tough deal to make,
Um,
because the attitudes have to change.
what if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right
What are
now,
you
but
saying?
what if
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
for the-
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now?
But they have
Okay?
broken
What if they
ceasefire
broke it?
so many
I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me.
But all-
Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff.
I switched to the two shot because I had to get your face on there.
I'm
But
so confused. Hold on. This war started in 2020.
2014, but yeah. That
And
was Russia
Obama,
when Russia first started their incursion.
but not on Ukraine.
Yeah.
No, it was Ukraine.
Yeah.
Okay. When did Obama send them sheets?
That's just Trump's talking point. It's like, remember how Trump joined the military and when he became president, he said the military had no bullets because of Obama.
No, I missed that.
Okay. Yeah. He said basically that the military had no bullets. They were out of bullets because of Obama. That's just one of his anti-Obama things that he always spews. Because Obama tried to keep it more humanitarian with the aid than like active, provocative military aid. But yeah, they basically invaded the Crimea and the Donbass in like 2014, and then they've just kind of that's what I said before. They go in, they start their stuff, they kind of cool everything down, and then they regather and then they proceed again. And then 2020 or what was it 2022 or 2021 was the next big attack where they basically, they went on and now that's the war that we've been, that's been going on now for a while.
Okay.
But basically the aggression started in 2014
Okay.
and it, built from there. But I
I didn't realize that it was all like a series that led up to,
yeah.
the outright war in Ukraine.
Well, and Trump always says there was no fighting. There's been fighting the whole time. His entire presidency, there was skirmishes going on. So he always says that nothing happened in Ukraine under him. That's just not true. There was plenty of skirmishes between Russia and Ukraine during that time in the border regions. So I don't even know what he's talking about. But he's so petty and so weak. The Russia thing he brings up and Biden was stupid. It's all projection. It's so ridiculous.
I know, because then he brings up Hillary Clinton, who
I
was his
know.
opponent in fucking 2016, and he can't let her go.
I know. It's so petty.
Like, he just starts throwing out names just to distract. He's just throwing spaghetti at the wall here.
This is why I always say he's so weak, and this is just proof of his weakness because he wants to cut off the military aid to Ukraine, and he won't do it as in a way that would gather any criticism in his mind. So he's going to bring Zelensky in here, and he's going to berate Zelensky so that he can say, "Look, Zelensky's the bad guy," just so he can end this because he's got to please Putin. At this point, he is fully. This whole interview is going to one person. It's going to Putin. He might as well be looking at in the camera and saying, "Is this good, Daddy?"
He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia, the 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards.
I can't listen to this idiot anymore. But can you imagine this? Zelensky over here has hundreds of thousands of people dying in his country. He's one of the best wartime leaders I can think of. And then you have this fucking idiot in Trump that he just even said, "I don't know the history of this." You're the president of the goddamn United States. You don't know the history of this.
Yeah, I was literally going to say the only truthful thing I've ever heard come out of his mouth was, "I don't know what happened."
He has no fucking idea. He has no idea the history. I have never seen somebody so old that has no idea about the world events that happened in his time. It's like he actively avoided trying to know what was going on at any time in his life because he doesn't know anything that happened in his lifetime. This is all in his lifetime. This
Mhm.
is literally the history of his life. Is Ukraine, Russia, the Iron Curtain, the Cold War, and he has no idea about any of the history. But anyway, so since this has come out, Zelensky has said basically he thought that this interview was regrettable. He hasn't apologized, which I appreciate because every single Republican has come out and been like, Zelensky needs to apologize before we can continue. And Trump has since stopped temporarily the aid to Ukraine. So we'll see where it goes. But I find myself more and more, it's sad, with like especially Canada and Ukraine. Every time one of their leaders calls Trump an idiot or they boo the national anthem, I'm at the point now where I'm proud. I'm like, thank you guys. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. But Zelensky is, I don't know, 18,000 times the man Trump will ever be. And I think Trump knows that, and that hurts Trump.
I agree. And honestly, props to him for still paying attention to what Trump was saying because I was zoning out when he just started talking about the bullshit and
Yeah.
the laptop and Hunter Biden. Like, that's not why Zelensky flew all the way over here, leaving his people to handle everything. For him to be away, to come sit in the Oval Office, to be berated and being told, say thank you, when he already has thanked the people of the United States. He has nothing to thank Trump and
Yeah.
JD Vance for, except wasting his time. He says that this interview was regrettable. I'd say it was a waste of his time and that America should be apologizing to him for wasting his time
I
because
agree.
there are much better things he could be working on at the moment than sitting there listening to word vomit from the president of the United States who just said he doesn't even know what happened in the last 4 years